Hello, and welcome to the Yet to Be Named podcast. I am your host, Anthony.
I am Dre Santos.
And I'm Leo D'Souza.
Yeah, this is it. This is it, guys. Like we're starting this whole thing, a podcast.
How long did it take for us to get to this exact moment?
About 6 months.
6 months. Okay.
Maybe
Is it
more.
really about 6 months?
I don't know.
I think it was beginning of the year. That's when the idea came up.
I think
Yeah.
that's a great way to start our introductory episode or our
Yes.
first episode. It's a great way to start our first episode of the podcast. It's talking about why are we here? Why the heck are we doing a podcast?
And also who
Yeah.
we are.
And who we are too.
So, Anthony, let's start off with you. So, what do you do for work?
I earn money from being a manager at a theater.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, it's fun.
Dre?
I am a what am I? Okay. I am
Everybody's like
Anthony,
forgetting.
Andre just had amnesia.
I am an ABA therapist and also a filmmaker, the co-owner of A Squared Media.
Oh.
And we're hoping that he remembers that tomorrow.
I'm hoping that I remember that.
He has to go to work, guys.
And as for me, I work in a family business. My dad has a stone fabrication business. So that's what I've been doing since I was a teenager, going there on weekends and after college. So yeah.
So I think that the cool thing
Wait,
about
was
this
that a
is,
plug-in for your company?
I mean, if he plugged his company in,
I would have said the
Alright,
name of
I
the
better
He
get
didn't
some-
say the name. I said the name. So if anything, I plugged in.
I better get
A
some
Squared
revenue
Media.
for this. I don't like this.
But I think it's interesting to point out just how different our walks of lives are, and this is what makes this podcast interesting. Is because not only do we do completely different things,
Yeah.
our day jobs are very different, but we also, as people will see in the subsequent episodes, is that though our way of thinking is also very different.
Oh,
Yes.
So this is going to really come out and show in the podcast, in the discussions that we have, and the opinions that we have about everything, including Star Wars Episode 8.
Oh,
Right,
God.
Leo?
We're not bringing that up right now. That is a
Oh.
different- that is
Oh,
a whole
boy.
different-
Oh, boy.
It's a sore
can't do this.
subject. It is a sore subject for that. But I think it's maybe we should start talking about where everything started. Not where everything started with the idea of the podcast, but this format.
Right. So
Do you
basically,
guys remember where everything started?
yeah. So
And as Anthony is explaining, I am going to crack a cold one because
this is about it'll make sense. So it all started when I was a sperm. And then, and then it-
Wow, we're going way back.
no. So we kind of in the beginning, it was just us. Well, it was just me in a basement. Dre would come over in my. I guess you could say it's my very first apartment ever.
we'll put up pictures
Yeah.
of what it was like before.
And
then after.
yeah.
I don't think I had the privilege of visiting your first apartment.
Oh, it was.
No, you did.
Yeah, it was.
But
No, yeah, you
not-
did. Yeah.
But not when
Not when I was in
just
it
by
only.
himself.
Oh,
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
by himself. Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
before.
yeah, that's depressing.
So I was in that apartment first, and then Dre came over a lot, and then a few people started coming over every once in a while, and then Dre was like, "Oh, hey, I want to move out." It's like, yeah, I have another room, and he started talking to the landlord, and then ended up being that we living together, and more people started coming over, and then we're like, you know what, let's just make this a thing.
And that's
then-
when the idea of New Beer Wednesday came about.
Yeah.
Where we would gather as friends, and each Wednesday we would try a new beer.
A new beer.
And if you see over there, that little, what do you call that? The frame.
Yes.
I think last time we counted, there's about 48 bottle caps there.
Almost the amount of states that United States have.
Almost. But yeah,
Yeah.
and throughout maybe how many months? 6 months? 7 months. No, it was more. It was more than
It was
that.
probably almost a
A
year.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's say a year of consistent New Beer Wednesdays. We tried all those 48 beers.
Yeah.
And I think that this podcast is kind of the, the sequel in sorts of
Oh, yeah.
those
the
New
remaining-
Beer Wednesdays. Because I think one of the things that was the best, apart from trying a new beer every Wednesday, but it was the getting together with the other bros and
Yep.
talking about everything and anything under the
Yeah,
sun.
I wasn't there in that initial phase of Andre moving in with Anthony.
Now, remember that at one point in time, I did not like beers.
He hated
I
IPA
hated
too.
IPAs, and we're drinking an IPA right now. But I really did not like beers. And the way that I started drinking beers, my entry to beers, it was a cider. Because
Yeah.
ciders are sweeter. Ciders usually tend to have a lower alcohol percentage of alcohol. So they're easier to take in. And then slowly from ciders, I went to lagers. So those are the lighter beers.
Mhm.
Your Coronas, your Bud Lights, and those are the Budweisers. And then I started going into the more crafty lagers.
Which would probably be Night Shift, right? That kind of
Night Shift, Blue Moon. You could consider that more
I mean-
crafty. It's definitely, I will put it in a completely different level from Corona and Budweiser.
Oh yeah, it's definitely different.
So that's, and then
But
kind of getting there, you're craving for a little bit more flavor.
you want
because
something.
lagers are usually lighter beers. They don't have a lot of flavor. And that's
Yeah.
when you begin to dip your foot into the IPA waters.
Mm.
And once you get there, oh boy.
And
There's no going back.
now, let's say about a year later, because I really started drinking beer, exploring the tastes of beer about a year ago when we started New Beer Wednesday. And at a year later, the thing that I mostly drink are IPAs. And today's beer, which, it is customary of our New Beer Wednesdays, but we're recording this on Thursday, so maybe we should call this New Beer Thursdays now.
New Beer
No.
Thursdays.
But today's beer
Thursdays.
is a Harpoon IPA.
Now look, this is a popular IPA.
Tell us a little bit about this IPA.
Yeah, so this
Anthony.
is a very popular IPA. It should have been done a long time ago, but while we were looking for stuff in beers, it was like going down an aisle and saying, all right, which one looked cool? Which one sounded the best? But yeah, so being one of we should have done this already, but this is a Harpoon IPA. It's from Harpoon Brewery, which
is from
is
Massachusetts.
yeah.
Represent Massachusetts. Yeah.
And then
You got to drink local.
Yeah, you gotta always drink local. This is more of a floral kind of IPA. This gives you a lot of it's like a really like a hit of like you just really eating flowers. Like that's really what it tastes like.
And you know what flour tastes like?
I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I do not know what flower. Okay,
Hold on.
Look, no. Hold on.
No, hold
Because I think it's really funny how people that taste beer, coffee, and wine, they come up with these nonsensical words to
Hold
describe beer.
Whoa.
Floral, earthy.
Yeah, have you not eaten dirt before?
No, I have not
have.
eaten dirt.
Have you not
How
eaten
do you
flowers
know?
before?
How do you know that something tastes like dirt?
Oh, it's
like
like
I
spend your
don't
days
It's
eating
understand.
because you eat it as a kid.
Oh,
You
God.
put
No, you
you
don't.
shove in your mouth
No, you don't.
the hand. Yeah, that's what I did whenever
You
I
see,
played.
that is why Leo doesn't like beer today. Because when he was a kid, the precursor for you to liking beer is that when you were a child, you have to.
This is
You
all
have
facts.
to-
When I was a kid,
Do
I
not-
didn't
do
eat
not
You
dirt.
have
fact
to
check
eat
this.
dirt.
I ate ants.
Oh,
That's what-
God, what
Oh,
the
geez.
heck?
Yes, I ate ants when I was a kid.
See,
Why?
now this is what's
Why
wrong
did
with you.
Why did you eat ants?
Those poor ants.
I don't know.
Like, okay, hold on. Like, What happened? One day you just saw an ant and you're like, I'm going to eat that?
It was in Brazil, and...
Oh, see, that's the thing. It's
It's
Brazil.
Brazil.
Anything happens in Brazil.
Anything happens in Brazil.
Is it Las Vegas, though, where you forget about it?
What? No, I mean, I obviously
stays there.
No, I'm remembering it right now.
So.
So, I don't know. I was just like, saw these ants. I was like probably like 4 at the time, like 4 or 5. I don't know what came over. I just saw it and I put it in my mouth and I chewed it. I was like, oh, it doesn't taste like anything.
Now, here's the more important question. Sure, you tried ants once.
Tried it?
Did you keep eating ants after that?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, that's good.
Okay, that is good.
So I see an ant right now. I'm gonna be like, bro, stay away. It's not feeding time.
That is good.
No.
But going back to the the beer here, it has 5.9% alcohol level,
Which is not high at all.
It's not bad for IPAs. Usually IPAs have a higher percentage.
Yeah,
This one is
like
does not.
you'll probably get more of like 8% to 12%.
And one
As
thing
high as even 18%.
for all of the 21 and older crowd that is watching and listening to our podcast, because if you're under 21, do not be looking for beers in the market.
Please do not.
But if for all the 21 and over crowd, one really important thing when you're buying beer, especially IPAs, for you to look at the number called IBUs. It's International Bitter Units. And that is how bitter the beer is. It goes from 0 to 100. 0 being, this is water, Coronas, and 100 being...
I was going to say Bud Light. Corona has a little bit more.
I don't know about that. And 100 being the worst, most bitter thing that you've ever tasted. So this one right here, the Harpoon IPA, is at 42 IBU. So it's a little bit below halfway, which means that this is a great entry-level IPA. And what is...
Well, it's not going to mess you up is what it is.
What has been the highest IPA, the highest
I think
IBU IPA that you've had?
Oh, IBU? I don't know. It was really high, though, where we're... Like, it felt really dry. I couldn't tell you that, but it's definitely really high.
I think from what I remember, the highest one that I had was maybe 79.
Yeah, that's pretty bitter, though.
82.
Which one was that?
I don't remember. I have to check my app, but it was 82, and that was very bitter.
I know the Whirlpool by Night Shift is pretty bitter, too. That one was, like, it's hardcore, too. But I think the worst one was the Hobo.
No, the worst one was Devil's Anus. Remember what isn't it?
That was our first one, wasn't it?
I remember that.
You were there. You were there.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
What's the name of it? It's
Angry Bastard.
Angry Bastard. Holy shit.
That tasted pretty good, though. It was really malty.
Oh, yeah. It was amazing.
It was amazing. Good. Yeah, it's like a wine.
It's IPA that is aged in what kind
I
of barrels?
don't even think it was.
It was aged. It was
beer aged in
Kentucky.
It was bourbon barrels.
Yeah, bourbon barrels. So not only are you getting IPA, which has usually a higher percentage of alcohol, and bitterness is elevated, but then you're also getting a little bit of the taste profile of a whiskey, a bourbon.
Well, it's
was
like
it bourbon or whiskey.
It was bourbon. When the thing is that when you put it inside of a barrel, you're getting that oaky, like really rich wood taste.
This is one of those things where does someone come up with oaky wood taste?
No, because that's
people go around and lick oaks and wood.
This is exactly how.
Does
listen.
I think it's when they barbecue. The kind of wood that they use, it kind of probably affects the taste.
No,
of the
it's
meat.
the same exact thing. Yeah, but listen, where do you think that the Vikings put all of their alcohol in?
I don't know. You asked.
They put it in a wood barrel. And how long do you think that usually sits in there?
Probably
not very long.
A long time. So, for
I mean,
people that have somewhat of an understanding of alcohol,
like never.
He was like, nah, you know what? They just
he's like,
put it there.
They just put it there and they drink it.
I assume like Vikings are like savages. Like, no, they just chug the whole thing.
Oh,
yeah, that's what media tells you.
If there's one thing that the Vikings probably did pretty well was make some good beer. Which, by the way, How
I mean,
long
it
has
started.
been?
It started in Egypt, though.
Now, by the way, we have Mead Brewing in the other room,
Yeah.
and it's been a week now.
Yeah.
So
Holy.
in 2 weeks,
Oh, man,
so
2 weeks.
in episode 3, we're going to be here tasting our mead live for you guys.
Holy
It is
yeah.
going to be, well, not live, but
Live.
you understand the point.
Yeah.
You get the
And,
point.
Leo volunteered to help.
It is live though. It is live.
It is
for
pretty
the
much.
people that are not patient enough. They want to get the raw.
The one person.
and
Hello.
on
Hey, what's up?
You're asking about what's going to be the name of the podcast.
Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah.
we have to get into that too.
We skipped that though.
That is
No,
We
true.
skipped
We
that
don't have a
part.
name
That
yet.
is true. We kind of like we just jumped into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the yet to be named podcast. That is the name of our podcast for now.
Yeah, for now.
We spent a good 2 days thinking about a name.
No, like seriously though, like even before we were thinking about a name, and the only thing we could think of was the group that we had when we started was just new beer Wednesday, and we're like, you know what, we gotta do it that way because that's how it's been all for this long. But then we were thinking about it's like, well, we're not trying to slap like beer in front of everybody saying, you know what, hey, we know exactly what we're talking about
Yeah.
beer, and that's all we're gonna talk
Yeah,
about.
And not only that, but like we were just talking about before we started the podcast, and which kind of goes into what we really wanted to talk about in our first podcast. But if you go on YouTube and you search how to start a podcast, if all of the videos say pick a niche.
Yeah.
And when we were thinking about starting a podcast, we couldn't think of a niche. Like we really couldn't. We couldn't think of a specific topic that we wanted to focus on and talk about.
I mean, even while we were talking about stuff, we always ended up talking about everything.
So Andre say, call it
Bros
bros before beers.
before beers.
Those before beers.
I mean,
Hi, Andre. What's up? Thanks for joining us to our first ever episode of the Yet to Be Named podcast.
episode 001.
001.
The very first.
We forgot to
the
say that
only-
in the beginning too.
I mean, it's
I don't
it's
think we need to
it's
say
practically just our pilot episode
It is
mostly.
It
So
is
it's
our
000.
000.
Yo,
Should this be episode 000?
Maybe.
All right, now here's the question though,
What's the question?
which we still didn't answer. Why are we doing a podcast?
All right,
We
so yeah,
talked
yeah,
about
so
how we
origin-
started.
Wait. Yes, say the
Yeah,
origin.
So the origin was basically that we all were able
It all
to
started at New Beer Wednesdays when
Yeah.
we used to hang out at Anthony and I's previous apartment.
Yeah.
We used to get together, drink beer, try new beer every Wednesday,
Mhm.
and talk about politics, talk about
Well,
movies, talk
mostly,
about...
sometimes it was just about mostly like ridiculous stuff that we saw, and we're just like, I'm so surprised this happened.
But for a while, we stayed hung
With
up on politics
politics,
for
oh
a good
yeah.
while.
Oh no, people got mad.
Yeah,
There-
and people
there's
left.
been-
People
there's
got
been
mad and
fights.
people left.
There's been fights. There's
Yeah,
been fights. Oh boy.
there were more than enough fights. But I mean, we realized we realized by the end of it all, like, that it's more important to stay friends than to try to be right.
We learned a lot. That is true. We did learn a lot in those months
Yeah.
of New Beer Wednesdays.
I think, and as we were like, talking to one another, we would really actually get on each other's nerves, and we realized, like, you know what, let's just talk about it without getting mad at each other.
Well, I think it got to a point where we were getting personal. We were attacking the person and not the idea. And I think now answering Leo's question, why me personally, I think that this podcast is a good idea, and why I wanted to start a podcast is because I feel that nowadays, and I hate to use the word society, but let's just go with it. In our
We live in a
society,
society,
we live in
dude.
a society. In our society,
Or
it's
in
like
all cultures.
in our
probably.
culture, sure.
Yeah.
In our times right now,
Yeah.
it almost feels like people have forgotten how to have a civil debate, how to talk to one another, how to debate ideas, how to question ideas, without.
not
And
even-
this is what we kind of learned. I'm gonna speak for myself. What I learned through New Beer Wednesdays when we used to hang out is that people used to get attached to the ideas, and they themselves, their identity come from the ideas that they hold,
yeah.
which kind of makes it hard for people to separate themselves from the idea and look at it critically and be able to criticize it, be able to question it, and be able to even defend it. And that is why let's say for me personally, I wanted to do this podcast, because I think that since a year and a half ago, we've grown a lot, we've come a long way, and we've learned how to talk about ideas that sometimes we're very passionate about, and how to challenge one another, and how not to take it personally. Even though it might be something that is very important to us, we still don't take it personally. And at the end of the day, we can still walk away and be friends. And I think a recent example was the fact that Leo and I are complete opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes polar opposites when it comes to Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi.
But we're not going to get into that.
We're not going to get into this today. Maybe one day we'll talk about this.
Leo's butthurt, Dre's butthurt. We're all like butthurts.
But look, I'll be honest, we had a very heated argument.
Yep.
Which is funny. Like, why do we have a heated argument about Star Wars? But it's whatever.
Because it's our identity, man.
Yeah, I know.
mean,
this is who I am.
But we had a very
Star Wars
one thing
Episode
I can
8.
say is it totally subverted my expectations.
Yeah, we had
Okay.
a heated debate.
But we're not talking about this.
And we got, let's say, upset at one another because we started yelling at each other, trying to talk over each other. But at the end of the day, we're still friends. We're like, you know what? It's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay. And I think that's what we need more to finish my answer here. Is that's what we need. We need to encourage conversations where people are not getting offended by what other people are saying just for the sake of being offended.
Yeah.
Is that people are able to defend their ideas, question their ideas, criticize their ideas, see its flaws and see its strengths, and still be friends with people who hold completely opposite ideas.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest thing for me too is why I wanted to start one. It's because we forget that sometimes we can let go of our ideas. You know, we can be like, you know what, I was wrong. Maybe I need to try to see it differently. But I think for me, it's mostly because we have great conversations that actually move us forward in life, and
many of them are very late at night.
Yeah, and,
oh God.
And sometimes we can just catch it. A few of the conversations throughout the day as we're thinking, as we, because sometimes some of us just think out loud. As we're talking.
Yeah,
that is me. For people that are only listening through audio, I just rose my hand because I am the external processor.
Like,
I have to talk through my ideas.
Okay. He just asks questions for the sake of asking questions.
I do, and that's the thing. I think this is something that we need to capture about our friendship here, is to ask questions for the sake of asking questions, and to learn to be okay with not having the answer. And I think even most importantly, to learn to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or to admit I am wrong. Which for me personally, that is very hard. To say that, you know what, the idea that I held 6 months ago, I thought about it, I criticized it, I kind of stripped it down, and it kind of sucks. And I was wrong.
Right.
And I had to do that many times because I'm one of those people that likes to take the most unpopular idea and really run with it.
So so for that, if there's anything that we want you to take home, it's, hey, you can be wrong and be okay with it.
Well, I think the way that I think about it is that all of us are wrong. Okay. We're just trying to be a little bit less wrong each day.
Okay.
Because because when you think about life like that, one of the most important things, you are humbling yourself. You're not thinking of yourself as any better than anybody else around.
Yeah, and I think that's where it should start.
So basically, you're taking like the Socratic stance of, all I know is that I know nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, because like if you really think about it, we really don't know anything. The things that we think we know, there's so much more to it that it's pretty much as if we don't know anything. So because I came, and we can get into this, I think, another episode, but I came from a stance where I thought I knew everything. I thought, not everything, but I thought I knew a lot of things.
Isn't that like our teenage phase? Don't we all go through that when you're teenagers?
Well, not even
Like,
teenage,
yeah,
but
I'm
I
18.
think
I'm an adult.
I mean,
I can
even
live by myself.
even when I was 20, I thought I knew what I was doing.
I
how
think
I was doing
it's
everything.
more nowadays for young adults.
Yeah.
Teenagers definitely go through that, but young adults
I mean,
go through that too.
you see that in politics already. People are like dressing up, ready with knives and guns to shoot and kill somebody because of an idea. And
So then,
Yeah.
they think they're so right that they're ready to kill for it.
so it's not a teenage thing. It's not a young adult thing. It's a human thing.
Yeah.
What about you, Leo?
Yeah. So why do you, Mister, I've been trying to convince, but hasn't been able to until the very last day.
Should we tell the story about how long did it take for Leo to come around doing a podcast first, or should we let him?
Yeah,
answer
he
the
needs
question?
he needs an origin story too.
All right, my origin story. So Anthony, he came up with the idea to do the podcast.
But something happened before that.
Yeah, there's
I
definitely.
before that, I had the idea of starting a YouTube channel,
Okay.
and the reason why I wanted to do a YouTube channel is because I felt like I had a lot of ideas of my own that always comes up in our conversations, and I felt like that's worth sharing to people. And then stuff happened, like life happens, and I just get so caught
lazy.
up and stressed.
Yeah.
Life happens. We get lazy.
Basically.
We don't want to do anything anymore.
Yeah, we get lazy, and like sometimes I have that spark of motivation, but then I'm like, I'm not going to mess around with it. And so, especially in my current situation, there's just so much going on right now. Adding another thing on top of that is just so it's just like so draining. So I think one thing I learned about myself, especially right now, is
we're getting personal here.
is that
Do you want to open these can of worms?
Yes, let's open these cans of worms.
That sounded really weird.
Which, by the way, a lot of our conversations are kind of lame too.
Yeah.
Because we said it so far, we set it up that we have like these super intellectual,
Yeah,
interesting conversations.
we
A lot of
know.
them, a lot of them are pretty lame too.
And then when I gave up on the YouTube channel temporarily, I more like postponed it. My Anthony, he came in like, yo, I want to do a podcast. I'm already doing research. I'm already buying sound equipment, and I want you to be on board.
I don't think I was ready to buy it yet. I think
No, but you were doing.
I was
research,
doing.
though.
I
He was
definitely
doing a
got
lot.
everything.
He watched
together.
a lot of YouTube.
Yes, he did
a
a lot.
lot of YouTube.
I listened to a lot of podcasts,
and he sent us a list. Hey, this will cost a very minimal $300 for each of us
Hey, no.
to start a podcast.
I think it started off with $100 each, with like the crappiest, as low as you. I'm not gonna say crappy because probably some of it you can really make like really good, but it started off with the lowest end stuff, and then when I realized like, man, we could do it well for the longest time without replacing anything if we kind of move it up, but.
Yeah. But every time Anthony would push the idea on me, I would resist.
Oh, would you resist, sir?
Oh, I would.
You would
resist.
roll his
But-
eyes.
And Anthony was persistent.
And
He did not.
this is what I would get.
He did not give up.
This is what I would
I
get.
had given up. I'll be
Ah.
honest. I had given up on Leo, which I think. Continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because
I'll add to it once we get there.
yeah, it's like I guess for me, something I learned about myself is, I need to come to the idea, like at my own pace. Because if I feel like I'm being pressured or pushed into something, my initial instinct is to resist,
Mhm.
right? And
The art of resistance, man.
yeah, and then
You
eventually,
should write a book, The Subtle Art of Resisting.
and especially since like something that like I don't really think about, like it's not in the back of my mind, and then every week that we would meet, Anthony like, hey, what about that podcast? I'm like, no.
How about no?
No, it would be like maybe.
No, I think the best things of that period, that very long 4-month period of trying to get Leo to do the podcast with us, was that every time we had a good conversation, either Anthony or I, especially Anthony,
Yeah.
Anthony.
we would stop out of no. He would stop us and be like, "Hey, you know what?
That was 30 minutes.
That was 30 minutes that we could have done a podcast."
Yeah. And that was a moment too, like when I was actually talking about like, hey, how long would you guys talk? And you're like, dude, I'm not sitting here for an hour and talking about stuff. Like, there's no way we're not gonna be able to do that.
And that's
And
what
I was
we
like,
did.
well, all right, we'll do 30 minutes. Like, I don't even think I could do 10 minutes. It's like, okay.
Well, so right now we're at 35 minutes. Just saying.
I should have started a timer, and I didn't. That would have been smart.
Man.
Anyway.
high five.
Okay, so you learn about yourself. Sorry, Leo, we keep cutting.
I know.
Yeah,
We
Hey,
learn
that-
about yourself.
that's a common theme here.
It
I always
is.
got
I
caught.
know.
I always get cut midway, and Andre always has his monologues. Like he talks the most out of the three of us. So be prepared to listen to a lot of Andre.
What is the nickname that you have given me, Leo?
I call him on my phone. His name is Andre Monologue Santos.
He's got a he's got a middle name now.
Monologue. That's his
But
middle name.
go on. You learned about yourself
Yeah.
that.
No, that I tend to resist ideas that I feel like are pressured or pushed onto me, unless I kind of come at it in my own terms, in my own time, then I'm more willing to participate. And then that's what happened. Eventually, pushing so long, I finally gave myself the time to really think about it, and seeing that, he's got the equipment, the mics, like this is actually going to happen. It's not just some crazy idea. I'm like, you know what? I'll jump in on as well.
And
Okay,
I
yeah.
think
Yeah.
I think what really got Leo interested, and he was like, "Oh shit, I better jump on this," is because Anthony actually bought everything that you're saying here. Anthony bought except my mic and Leo's mic, which these are actually shotgun mics that A Square Media uses for our production. So
I need to buy my own mic.
yeah, and I actually need to buy my own mic for this kind of thing too.
I
But
have mine.
Yeah, the nice blue mic right here. Blue.
Mhm.
See, guys? Blue.
It's called the Blue Ember.
Blue Amber. But anyways, so Anthony bought everything, and, a huge box showed up at our house. And then Anthony was showing, he was super excited. And then Leo was like, okay, this is kind of serious. But then I think what really pushed Leo over the edge is that, as you guys saw on our Instagram, the memory card of that camera is full. Just saying.
Nice.
Okay. We have lost camera too.
Oh boy.
Nice.
Having open-minded conversations, and being able to criticize one another's ideas and challenge each other's ideas without getting personally feel that you're being personally attacked. Yeah. And just have a good time about questioning everything. That's what we like to do, and that's what we want to do about our podcast. And that is why we didn't want to find a niche thing in our podcast, is because we wanted to talk about everything and anything under the sun.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do. We don't have one specific interest. We're watching Game of Thrones right now, and in 2 weeks when the season ends, I tell you, episode 3 of this podcast is going to be mostly about Game of Thrones, and we're gonna go in depth about what we thought about shitty season 8. We like to talk about beers, as you saw.
Oh boy.
We like to talk about movies. We like to talk about politics. We like to talk about anything and everything under the sun. Religion. Moral debates. So it's really what we want to do is we want to invite our viewers, our listeners, to join the conversation, and just to learn to say sometimes that, hey, I'm wrong, or yeah, the idea that I held was completely bullshit, and I've learned. And here's the thing: every conversation you have, every debate that you have, you do not have to walk away from having all the answers. Yeah. I much rather walk away from a conversation having more questions than I had when I walked into it. And I think that's the.
Yeah, I think it really reflects our culture, as Drake said before, that people are more concerned about being right than about actually having a conversation, coming out with it with questions or new ideas. And oftentimes, when we focus on being right, instead of talking to the person, we're talking over them. Like we step over them to get our ideas across instead of taking their feelings into consideration.
So our cinematographer is totally screwing us over right now. But that's so true though, because it's like, here's the thing: when you say I'm right, you're wrong, you're ending the conversation right there. There's no more conversation.
Yeah.
When I tell Anthony, Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time, and that is it. It ends the conversation. But in that case, that conversation should just end.
Not for me,
because Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time, and we all know this.
It's kind of like that apologetics tactic. It's like, what do you mean by that? And how do you know?
I kind of use that all the time.
What do you mean by that? And how do you know?
There's a never-ending source of questions for me when people come up with ideas.
It's like
Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. What do you mean by that?
But Leo still hasn't. Leo still hasn't finished the. Why did you want to do the podcast?
Why are you joining us?
No, because we were talking about. I think they smoking gun for Leo, as you guys saw for the third time on Instagram earlier this week. Our setup was completely different. We had set up the room for two people, for Anthony and I to have the podcast. And that's the picture that we posted earlier this week.
Yep.
And then
fully prepared and ready that day.
Yeah, because we're being 100% honest here. Anthony and I, we had a conversation because Leo, up 2 weeks ago, he was still iffy about the podcast. He still wasn't 100% sure about it.
I showed him everything. I was like, this is what I have. Hey, we're going to do it.
And he's just like, I don't know about this. I don't know. But anyways, and then I was like, you know what, Anthony? You know what? Fuck Leo. We're going to start a podcast on our own. Because this dude has been holding us back for like 6 months.
AKA Dre.
And then that's the question I had back then. Is like, why are you guys waiting on me this long? Like,
I mean, it was. I mean, some of it was.
We had a very long conversation about this.
It was
but it wasn't about money, but why we were waiting specifically for Leo.
Oh yeah, for specifically Leo.
That was my question. It's like, why are you guys?
Because we told you, like, hey, you're not doing anything right now, and you've been wanting to do something, so do something with us.
Because we believe that I honestly believe that humans are creative beings. There's proof of that everywhere. And I think that everyone has to find a way to create something. It doesn't have to become your career, but there's something about creating. There's something about creating something, looking at it like this is my own. It just feels so good. It's therapeutic. Almost. And I found that through filmmaking. Anthony found that through podcast, and that's what he wanted to do. And Leo was still a little bit iffy about what he wanted to do. He does some really great drawings, but we want to encourage Leo to continue to create, to continue to participate in creating things. And that's why we were waiting for Leo for so long. But anyways, and then
by the way, guys, you can follow me and see my art at chadmasterfunk.com.
Are we getting money for this?
It is not that good. But then I was like, you know what? Screw Leo. Because I think we can only use one F-bomb, right? To keep it PG-13.
Yeah, I think only one.
That was it.
Yeah, that was it. I used the one F-bomb, guys. We cannot use any more F-bombs for the entire show. No. But how many shits do we have?
I think you just lost it.
God damn it.
I think you lost that one too.
All right, God. Parental viewer discretion advised.
No, Dre, but you were talking about creativity. I'll push you back a little bit on that. You said that every person is creative.
This isn't the
I don't believe that is.
Ooh.
Because some people are less creative than others. Let me prove my point. For example, in soccer, greatest soccer player is Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh, I was about to say, like, of all?
Like currently, right now. The top players are like Neymar, Cristiano Ronaldo, and
Basilic.
and Messi, right? But we know that Messi is like somewhat on the spectrum, right?
Yep.
And Dre, who works in this field, knows that people on the spectrum, they're somewhat limited in terms of social skill, creativity, et cetera, et cetera. The thing is, and people might say that, Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar, and the likes are very creative players, right? They come up with these creative plays to get the ball in through the goal. Not Messi. Messi, the thing is, what makes Messi so good is not that he comes up with a bunch of crazy plays, is that he plays the same play every time. He perfected that one play that gets the ball into the goal. That's what makes him so good, is that once the ball touches his feet, he knows exactly, like, beat for beat, what he has to do to get the ball there. He doesn't try to do anything crazy. He doesn't try to get out. He's like in the zone, ball in the goal.
So how does that prove the point that not everyone is creative?
I mean, let's think about it this way too: is he created that, didn't he?
Well, and that's the
Yeah.
the next question that I was going to ask is, like, what is creativity? Because I think a lot of people, when they say when they hear the word creativity, they mean in an artistic manner. And I think this is what I kind of meant more in an artistic manner. But I don't think that creativity is only tied down to the arts. I think a plumber is creative because every time that he goes into a house and he has to do whatever work he has to do, he has to be creative to look at his tools, to look at the problem is, how am I going to use the tools that I have at my disposal to solve the problem that I have? Anthony goes to work. Anthony works at AMC Theaters. AMC Theaters, please sponsor me so I can go to movies for free and forever.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Why?
I signed a contract, man.
About talking about
I don't know.
where you work?
I don't know.
We're gonna go.
I haven't read the contract.
All right, so we're gonna redo that part. We're gonna have to redo that part.
No, I'm just kidding.
Anthony works at a movie theater that might have the letters MAC on it. Just scramble it around. But I'm pretty sure that he is faced with problems and challenges every day, and he has to use creative thinking to solve those problems. So let's say in Messi's case, even though he has that one specific way of playing, I wouldn't even say one play.
It's not one way
of playing, the Messi way of playing has to adapt to each team and to each situation. So you might have a formula, but your formula has to be adaptable depending on the situation. And that's where creative thinking comes in, is I know a formula that works nearly every time. How can I adapt my formula to the current situation that I'm faced with?
What I mean is not that Messi is not creative in any sense, but it's the fact that he practices the few plays that he has, and he, obviously, not every time it works, but he's able to pull it off consistently because he practices those same plays so much.
But did you hear what I said though?
Repeat the question.
He didn't hear what No, it wasn't a question. I'm just saying that I understand when you practice a few things all the time and you perfect those few plays, it doesn't mean that you are deprived of creativity. Yeah. Because those few things that you have practiced, you have to adapt them to situations, to various situations that you're faced with. That's where creative thinking comes in. How can I apply what I have perfected into this situation?
I mean, think about a handyman. He goes into he works at an apartment. He has different things that he has to do, and he has to be really good at figuring out solutions for all of them. Say for us, our fridge, our light to our fridge went out. We can't fix the light bulb. So a handyman better be able to have a creative way to come in and be able to fix it, or they have to replace the whole fridge, which is really expensive.
And not only that, but if Ashla wants to show for all the people that are watching live, we don't have all the two people thinking two people that are watching live.
2 people.
Yay!
Yes.
What's up?
What? Who? Thank you, Andre and Gabriel Leon, for
Yeah,
supporting
for
us
the
in this
support.
first episode. We really love you guys and we appreciate you guys.
Yes.
If we're ever rich and famous, we will send you a special something. We'll remember this. But
Andre,
just
don't make
show-
promises you can't keep.
I know.
Yeah.
Just show the lighting that we have here. We don't have a lot of money. And
a
we
lot of
don't
money?
have
Do
we don't
we
have
have
any
any?
money, and we don't have ways to get professional lighting done. So
Yeah.
just take a look around the room. First of all, we adapted Anthony's room into a podcast studio, and
Yep.
then we have literally lights that we bought at Home Depot to do this lighting to
Home
be
Depot
made.
sponsor
So
us.
we had the tools and used creative thinking to accomplish what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that's creativity. We had to be creative to accomplish what we wanted to accomplish because we didn't have the budget to buy the proper gear that we needed.
Right.
And just like you, like Leo, zoom in,
There's like
focus on Leo's mic setup right now. Leo's mic is being run into his iPhone because we didn't have an extra mic that was
That would
an
put it
XLR cable that we could run to what's this called?
A mixer board.
The mixer board. So we're recording right now on the headphones. We can hear ourselves.
Yep.
We can hear Anthony and Andre's voice, but we can't
Yes.
hear Leo. But Leo can hear us. But because we wanted to give Leo his own microphone, we used a shotgun mic that we use for making videos, and we ran into the iPhone. So the iPhone is actually recording Leo's voice, and the mixer board is recording, or the computer is recording our voice. So again, we use creative thinking to come up with that solution.
Yeah, this is just like an improv. Hopefully by next week we'll have a more proper mic.
Hopefully.
It's,
But
it's gonna be amazing
but
to edit.
But because we have to start wrapping things up.
Yep.
To answer the question, Leo, why did you want to start a podcast?
Yeah.
What pushed you over the edge?
Well,
Quick 30
it's
seconds.
it's basically the same thing as
Okay, we're over.
YouTube.
I'm just kidding.
Dick. Hey, that my one swear
That's
word.
the one.
Very
That's
well.
We're borderline.
It's,
rated R
it's
now.
almost rated R.
Is like I think even with the podcast, I think I could still do my YouTube on the side if I wanted to, if ever. Hopefully, I'll start it eventually. But I can still. I think it follows along the same idea of what I want to do on my YouTube, although targeted to a more religious crowd. And over here, it's just like I said, we don't have a specific niche. We just talk about politics, video games, entertainment, Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
movies.
What we like, what we love.
Whatever we like, whatever we want to talk about, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So I think this is also a great opportunity for me to bounce my ideas back on people who don't think exactly like I do, and who can challenge me, and I can also challenge them back.
Yeah.
Exactly. So and that's what this podcast is going to be all about. It's going to be 3 friends, maybe 4 or 5 by
Maybe 20.
because there's a lot of people that were interested.
At that point, we're going to have to rotate.
There's a handful of people that have contacted us wanting to be part of the podcast, which is great, because that's another thing that we want to do. We want to inspire people to either be part of what we're doing or to start their own thing.
Yeah.
But that's what this podcast is about. It's friends coming together to drink some beer and to talk about everything and anything under the sun, and to have an honest and open-minded debate and to raise some really interesting questions. So if that's what you're into and that's what you want to do, if that's what you want to listen to, join us every Thursday. And
we're gonna be doing it every Thursday.
But by the time it's out, it's gonna be on probably Monday.
Probably.
I mean, but there's a crowd that's watching live, and they don't have to wait 4 days to get the thing. But yeah, so that's what I think. That's what the podcast is about. It's going to be a very, very chill, laid back podcast. And for all the people live that are watching, if you have any topics, ideas that you want for us to talk about, that you like for us to talk about, comment on the picture that we're going to post.
Yes.
And give your suggestions for topics that you would like for us to talk about. Because like I said, we want to, and there's nothing is out of limits. Anything that we can.
Yeah, we can talk
We'll
about
talk about
penises. We can talk about vaginas.
It's already rated R.
We're going to have
It's
to.
rated R.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us live. And
Oh God! No.
This season,
hold on,
we are going to talk about Star Wars,
Right.
and it's going to be
not
very
now,
heated,
though.
very
Yes,
heated.
And then
We're getting a fight?
if you are watching on YouTube, you can find us on Spotify, and I'm thinking that we'll be on
The Apple thing. What's
Yeah,
the Apple thing?
iTunes.
iTunes. Huh?
iMusic, yes,
Ugh.
because it's not iTunes no more.
Who
Yeah,
uses
so we'll be
iMusic?
on Spotify, and we'll be on iTunes, and
iMusic.
hopefully iMusic. That's right,
Oh, and-
iMusic. But hopefully we'll
and
be
YouTube too, because
we'll
we
be-
are recording everything, so it's going to be on YouTube. If you
And-
want to watch us,
Mhm.
you can definitely do that.
and you'll definitely find us on IGTV
Yes, we'll be there too.
at one point.
Yes.
maybe.
Eventually.
And this is our commitment with you guys. We're going to be doing the first season. It's going to be 10 episodes. So that's why we want you guys to let us know what you love for us to talk about.
This is a taste.
And this is pretty much going to be the setup for the first season, the first 10 weeks of our podcast.
Yep.
And we're planning for the next season, maybe, depending how things go, for us to start having more guests and maybe some interviews of interesting people that we know that we'd love to kind of hear more about and debate different topics with.
If
yeah.
that's what it becomes.
Yeah, we're going, and that's the beauty of this. We don't have everything figured out. We're figuring out as we go, because we figured out that there's one thing that we figured out is the fact that
We want to do a podcast.
we want to do a podcast, and we didn't want to wait to do it, and we wanted to start doing it right now. And there's still a lot of things that we have to figure out, including the name, the Yet to Be Named
Yeah, I
podcast.
know.
And by the way, if you have a suggestion for a name, please also give it to us.
And we'll probably start it off our video with that name.
The Yet to Be Named podcast. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So whatever name you guys come up with, we'll try to use it in our intro.
Yes. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I am Dre Santos,
I'm Anthony.
And I'm Leo.
and this was the Yet to Be Named podcast, episode 000. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.